AI is the buzzword, right? Everybody's using AI, but so many people are just using it as a glorified Google search. Well, what we realized in our customer service department, and the only times we hear from customers, 90% of the time is when there's a failure. Nobody's really calling our office to tell us what a great and wonderful job we did.
Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Linnell Gordon. So on today's episode of the Vacation Rental Show, guys, we are joined by Hunter Harrelson. He is the owner and the CEO of Beachball Properties. They are a very fast-growing, family-owned vacation rental company, and they serve the Alabama Gulf Coast. Now, Hunter brings over 2 decades of experience, business experience to the table. So we're talking about Merrill Lynch, Regions Bank, before he launched Beachball Properties in 2016. So he has built a very disciplined, systems-driven management organization here, guys. This company is focused on strong financial performance, operational excellence, and long-term owner partnerships. They're really good at keeping their owners. Now, they're in Orange Beach, and Hunter and his wife, Ginger, have scaled Beachball Properties into a trusted name all across the Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan, Orange Beach, by combining his sharp financial strategy, guys, with hands-on hospitality leadership. Hunter, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I want to say something before we start. This is something I didn't know. You and Ginger bootstrapped Beachball Properties from scratch. You sold your home, you sold your boat, you even cashed in your retirement plans to buy like this 20 property vacation rental business and start your journey. Tell me, what do you think is the most important thing as far as your background in financial management and the way that you built Beachball Properties from day one?
So for me, it was, again, going to those systems and looking into the money thing and being profitable. And nobody goes into business for their health, right? I mean, just right now, we're renegotiating our credit card structure with a new bank that we can get more interest on our money spend. And I mean, here I am 10 years into the business and still considering looking, where can I find a dime under every rock, right? And some to add on that too, I actually have extensive construction background. My dad's an industrial contractor, so I knew that these Jimmys and Joes running around changing air filters and compressors and working on plumbing couldn't pull the wool over my eyes. So that was, a lot of the vendors had a hard time with me early on because I would price quote 2 or 3 different people to make sure we were getting the right deal. And of course, Ginger's legal background has been huge for me. Her and my dad both taught me, never say anything you wouldn't want read aloud in a courtroom. So you're always very careful with that.
Now, his wife is an attorney, guys, just so if you don't know, Ginger's an attorney. So that's good advice. Don't say anything you wouldn't like to be read in a courtroom. I think that's really good advice for everybody.
It is. But yeah, just having those financially sound systems in place, having a great CPA. Our CPA is our fractional CFO. He kind of ticks me off sometimes asking what I pay him for because I a lot of times have the decisions before I even go to him. And I'll say, this is what I'm thinking. And he'll say, yeah, no, you're on the right track. And I'm like, well, you're supposed to every now and then tell me I'm messing up, right?
No, for sure. You mentioned something that we really should talk about. Now, I know that you've built really strong financial systems in your company, but I just have to ask you because I can't get it out of my head. You actually built a bot, an AI bot. Now, you said something to me. You said, Linnell, I believe AI is, and I'm going to let you finish that.
So AI is the buzzword, right? Everybody's using AI, but so many people are just using it as a glorified Google search. Actually, I'll take a step back. I was sitting on a panel with Steve Schwab, and it dawned on me, he made a comment. He said, used to guests checked in, we gave them a key. They met that person face to face. They realized it was someone behind the name. Well, due to the OTAs and really COVID, that fast tracked into door codes directly to door. And we just became a corporate entity behind a OTA wall, right? So the only times we hear from customers 90% of the time is when there's a failure. Nobody's really calling our office to tell us what a great and wonderful job we did. We see it in Google reviews. Sure, that's nice. So with that customer service department really gets beat up on a lot of things they can't really control. So they either have to move up or they move out. And we realized that was a slog for us, is constantly training new people and them coming to managers asking questions. And it dawned on me, I said, what if we could create a database and not just be a Google Drive with a whole bunch of documents they had to feed through? What if they can just ask the question and the bot? So I talked to my web developer. He said that can be done. So we connected the Beachball bot through Gemini platform. It connects to all of our SOPs. We've trained all customer service and even now in our maintenance department. If you get hung up on a situation, ask the bot. If the bot doesn't know, we will go back and through management feed the bot. So, for example, we had a question the other day, and we hire virtual assistants as well. So, how do you train someone in the Philippines or somewhere else to know about Orange Beach, Alabama? They were asking if they could park a boat at a particular complex. Well, the answer is no, it's only to the owners. Well, how would they know that, right? So, we have it in the procedures that says at complex XYZ, you cannot park boat, it's only for owners. So, now in the future, when someone asks that question, can I park a boat there? Boom, it's given away. Now we're going to expand that a step further. Of course, there's multitudes of ideas that come out of this head that I'm trying to get out, but we want to create an AI for our website. So if someone goes to the website, instead of going through the traditional advanced search, they say, I'm a family of 5. We want to be on the beach. We must have a heated pool, this, and this search. It's going to pull up all of our properties that fit within that search. And we hope in the future that makes the AI companies, the Groks, the ChatGPTs, the Geminis of the world, trust our website, possibly over an OTA when someone eventually starts searching through them looking for vacational properties.
Yeah, I see that coming in the future too, I have to tell you. I don't know if that will eventually be a pay to play, the same way it was with Google and the searches there, but I imagine at some point there'll be that. We were on TikTok last week. And my husband sent me a link. He said, you won't believe this. He said, it's called TikTok Go. They're connected with booking.com now, and you can actually do that on TikTok.
Wow. Did you see the Super Bowl commercial? The one about where the guy's asking about the relationship with his mom, and then it starts trying to set him up with older women, and it says ads are coming. If it's on a Super Bowl commercial, I think it's real. It's coming.
I did. I tell you, and I think that there's so much coming. And it's so fast. Here's the thing, Hunter, everything here is at a pace that is insane. I will tell you that personally, I have started using AI to program again. It's been a long time since I programmed. I've run companies for a long time that had programmers. But recently I built an application and it only took 4 weeks. And I was able to do some really incredible things for biblical studies, which is really where my heart is. I was just thinking, I told somebody this morning, I haven't done that. And I had to build some electrical components to make some electrical pieces work with it. And I was like, I haven't done that since I was in college. And it was so much fun. And it was so easy. I can't imagine what our children are going to be building. Like our 6 and 8 and 10-year-olds are already starting, like my family. One of our 11-year-olds has her own YouTube channel where she draws, and it's not AI, but she uses AI to create things with it. And I'm like, it's faster than we know.
My 7-year-old told me she wants to be a YouTuber. And speaking of the drawing, my mother-in-law told me she's like, Lowry's just an incredible artist. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, she pulls up this app and it shows her how to draw things. And she's showing me her drawings. And I'm just like, we've got to get her in art classes. But I'm like, do we? I mean, she's got it all right there at her fingertips and we're not paying for it. But that's impressive. I'll shoot you straight. Programming is probably way over my head. Maybe I could learn it through AI, but what I've learned, and I preached on many podcasts ago on, is I'm a huge proponent for the culture index, CI, about knowing your people, knowing yourself. I am, at the end of the day, I'm in the 2 percentile of all of my dots, but I am a trailblazer persuader hybrid, which is kind of a scary thing because I can come up with ideas and then I can sell it to people. So that's why like the AI thing was more of, it was a vision, it was an idea, and I had to sell my web developer on building it, right? And that was his thing. So that's what I try to sit around and do. And Ginger's a true trailblazer, and she sees the world in different colors. And one of the things that's made us such a great team is she'll see things, and if she can convince me and I can see that vision, I can sell it to anybody, and I sell it to the team, which is why I'm more the office team builder. I'm more the one that convinces the team to get on with the program with things. And this is the way it's going to be. Sometimes I can hurt myself. You know, when we were a 20, 30, 50, maybe 100 property company, we were kind of nimble and we could move. Well, now we're 350 plus properties. It's a little bit hard to move. So sometimes my swift reactions, I've learned I've had to tone that back a little bit and take that idea and then maybe go to 1 or 2 individuals and say, how do we implement this? Rocket fuel. I read that book recently and I've learned I'm the visionary, but I have to have an integrator. I have to have integrators in my office that I can sell that vision to and they put it into play. And that's part of the structure as well. That was something When we were founder built at the beginning, I sat right in the middle of everything. I sat right by customer service. Maintenance was back behind me. I heard the conversations, the coming and going. I'd step in and say, no, do this here. Let me talk to that guest. Let me handle this. Well, you get to a point where it's just too overwhelming. So I had to move my desk away from all that. And I had to start putting trust and faith in certain individuals to put that. And it is a challenge. I mean, that's probably a testament to Gemini that we've grown how we have and sustained it, because at every 50 properties, all your processes break. That's what we've learned. And we have to go in. It seems like because of that fast pace, every off season where everybody should be relaxing, we're back in the lab and we're back trying to figure out, okay, this and this happened. How do we keep that from happening next year? How do we protect ourselves from this? How do we, and I tell people I'm busier in December, January, February than I am June, July, August. And everybody says that's crazy. No, the hay's in the barn then. That's maintenance and housekeeping at that point. If we haven't built them out properly, yeah, we can be busy. But because of our efforts in those off-season months, it makes the season go as smooth as it can be for a summer vacation rental company.
Built by property managers for property managers, Streamline is a powerful software that gives managers enterprise-level capabilities to drive more revenue and improve operational efficiency. Migrating to Streamline allows property managers to gain functionality while reducing the need for multiple vendors. Improve your flow by logging into a single system and reduce redundant technology costs. With Streamline, property managers achieve revenue lifts by leveraging our fully fledged communication center reservations, quoting system, revenue management tools, homeowner acquisition CRM, and powerful direct OTA connections. Streamline also has industry-leading trust accounting and report capabilities to give you clarity in an overall company performance. Learn more about Streamline Vacation Rental software at streamlinevrs.com. What I want you to do now is, because I think it's very important, it was very important in my company, is to explain to people what is cultural index. There are other ones, guys, that people use, but explain why that was important and why it makes a difference in your team, Hunter.
Sure. So the culture index, there's 16 different personality types, and maybe even actually 17, I believe. And they're broken into different sectors. And there's Myers-Briggs, and there's DISC, and there's the Enneagram. But ultimately, different people in every organization have a different role, right? I'll take, for example, a technical expert. The technical expert is going to be a very patient, highly detailed type person. Well, they may think they want to be a salesman, but they'll never really truly be a salesman. They can go to all the sales classes they want to, but without that personality, without that autonomy, it's just not going to work, right? So Mark Connolly is actually our culture index guy. And from what I understand, somehow we lucked into him because he's like the top guy in the country out of Dallas. And Mark and I will get together and I'll say, this is the position. This is what the position needs to do. This is how it's going to function and be successful. And he'll come back and say, these two culture indexes fit. These are the profiles. If you hire anybody outside of that profile, they're going to fail. And Linnell, I've screwed up before. I've gone against the profile and said, well, their resume said this and they interviewed this and I've put them in the position within, it's almost like within 6 weeks, you automatically go, dang it, Mark was right. So anybody that interviews with us has to take that survey. If they don't take the survey, you're automatically out. We can just know you're not even going to fit with us if you don't see the vision. And then if you fit that profile, then we go in and look and see, are you actually going to be an actual cultural fit within our operation, organization, and how we do things? And it gets the right people on the right seats on the bus. But there's also an unfortunate thing. We mentioned this before we were recording, because this has just recently happened within the last 4 weeks. Sometimes you have someone in your operation that was great at 100 properties, maybe 150 properties, but eventually you outgrow their role. And if they are not willing to move into a different place on the bus that's going to be successful, sometimes you have to cut bait and let them go. People that have been like family to you. 2 years ago, we had one lady that, I mean, she was great. She was part of our business development, but we just got to a certain size that she couldn't handle it. And she had to be let go. Never in a million years will we thought we let her go. And then just as recently as a month ago, someone had to be let go. And it's just, you as a CEO, you as a business owner, you have to remember you have to do what's best for you and your business in order to continue to grow. You can't slow your business down or stop for one or two individuals. And it's hard those first 2 or 3 days, maybe in that first week. But once you kind of move past it, sometimes it's like the air being let out of the balloon that you realize it's like this relief of like, oh, I didn't realize that's what was holding us back. And you're able to move forward and find the next person that fits that role, or it may take two people to fit that role. But that's the hard choices you have to make to be able to grow and be a CEO. If you want to stay at 50 properties and it's just mom and pop and 5 or 6 people, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be up into that 350, 400, 500 plus range, those are the decisions that have to be made.
So I did culture index too. I'm a maverick. So it's a little bit different than the trailblazer. We have less patience, I think, than you do. And there is no box for us. There's no conformity. We just think about it. So here's the thing. We had someone on the show, and this is what they said. Now, they have led very large organizations. Like, they're not a property manager. That's not their background. Their background is fintech, basically, financial technology. And this is what they said to me. I said, what is the most important quality in a leader? And this is what she said. She said, be a good person. So here's what I want to do. Guys, you have to balance. You can be a good person and still fire someone. Not only that, if you don't fire someone, you're not being the good person that you should be, because it's your job as a leader to make those decisions and to go through with them. When you mentioned that we outgrow people in our business, we do. And it's not personal. It is totally business. And we may love that person to death. But we just had that happen in one of the businesses that I'm a part of. And the person has been there for many, many, many years. They actually decided they wanted to retire. And I don't blame them. But we've brought in brand new processes everywhere, and you have to grow with your company. And what was there 3 years ago, what was marketing 3 years ago is not what's marketing today. It's totally different. And what you've just done with building the bot, like, I listened to how you did that and I thought, anybody could do that. It's true. I was going to say, here's what's happening in our industry and here's what I see. And you tell me if you see it. Somebody comes up with a great idea. Somebody uses AI to build that. It's not that hard. And then all of a sudden, everybody that doesn't understand the AI and doesn't understand how easy that thing is, they're on board and they're like, I want to buy that. I had somebody contact me this week and say, there's this process they've created and there's companies that are interested in it. And I thought, give them about a year and nobody's going to be interested in that anymore, because everybody's going to be able to do it themselves.
You bring up an interesting story that I've kind of talked to other people offline about. And so Ginger and I, going back to 2021, we were not really in the VRMA space, right? Nobody had really kind of heard about us. We were kind of our little pocket. And lo and behold, we won the 2022 VRMA Company of the Year. We put a little video together and the board picked us, and we flew out to Vegas and met several big names. And like, I don't know, I'm sure you were at that event. That event,
I was.
It was like a Baptist revival. I grew up Southern Baptist. And if you remember the old Baptist revival, you came in for a week. They brought preachers in from everywhere. Everybody got saved. Everybody was going to quit drinking and all their Hellenism and everything like that. And then what happened? 2 or 3 weeks later, everybody was right back in the bar acting like normal, right? That event was one of the biggest revivals I've ever seen. Everybody was just high. Everybody was buying all the tech. And what happened in 24 and 25? Half of those companies aren't here anymore. They're gone. And some of them are hanging on by a thread. And it's because everybody got on that high and everybody wanted to buy everything. But if you didn't implement it or didn't use it right, or then you realize like, oh my God, I've paid for all this tech and it's overlap. And did I really need this? And we took a hard look in the mirror in 24 into 25, and we called back and cut back a lot of things and just told some people, like, I know you like that tool, but like, we've got to get nitty gritty and do things this way. And again, that goes back to my finances. I've got to look at things financially. And does this make sense? Or is this the cost outweigh the easiness or ease or whatever that may be? I won't name names, but we're using one particular system. And I was looking at it and I went to the CEO and I said, you're charging me way too much for this product. Oh, well, this is our standard rate. I can't give it a discount. I said, do you realize at my size, I could pay an individual 60% of what I'm paying you to do what your system is doing for me and eliminate you completely? Well, I haven't thought of it that way. Well, I have. I've looked at it where I could hire a VA for even less than that to do exactly what your system's doing. So can you give me a break, or are we having a break? And they ultimately chose to break up with me, and that's fine. But anyhow, so we broke it into, we actually have an individual that actually handles this now. And that's basically their core job, is to do something that a system used to do. Now, look, I have that leverage because of our size, right? because we have 350 properties and the number it gets up to. But, if you're a smaller company, I get where some of this tech does make things easier, but make sure you're digging into it and making sure you don't have overlap. That's another thing I noticed between 22 and 25 is everybody wanted to do everything. Everybody wanted to be a jack of all trades, right? Instead of focusing in or honing in. Like if you were a lot company, be a lot company. Or if you were a comms company, be a comms company. When you start trying to do everything, your core values fall apart. And I saw that happen. The wizard, Travis Wilburn, he was the one I remember at 24. He and I were having a call and he said, "You're going to see a lot of change this year, Hunter." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Just be aware." And I'm like, "Quit talking in riddles. What do you see?" He's like, "Just watch." And it was just like, I called him later in the year. I said, "You called?" He's like, "See?" I was like, "Well, you didn't tell me specifically," but he's like, "I didn't know specifically. I saw the writing on the wall there." I mean, God love him.
That's all we have time for today, guys. But trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. Join me next week for part 2 of my conversation with Hunter Harrelson, where we're going to dive into the org structure behind Beachball Properties and the COVID decision that changed everything, as well as what success really means, guys, beyond the numbers. This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is brought to you by Streamline. To find out more about how Streamline can grow your vacation rental business, visit streamlinevrs.com. Make sure to search for the Vacation Rental Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.